Alright, what's up guys? Okay, so today there's a few things that I'm going to go over. So far progress on the editor and everything like that, still going. I'm just now getting the interactive objects actually hooked up, and I have it set up right now where you can actually switch to the mode. Now I need to be able to just grab the meshes and everything like that that represent the actual objects for like the vending machine, the doors and stuff like that. Get those hooked in there so that when you place them, you can actually see like representation of that object and all that. Pretty straightforward stuff. I actually think that the trigger system, and or at least the basis of that should probably be in place as well. And volumes are probably going to work with a very similar system. They're going to be based on the scale of the object or something like that. It seems pretty straightforward that they might end up just using sort of like a way where you grab a regular size object and then you can change its scale depending on how much space you want it to. So like if there's for example, if there's like a death pit down here, I could place one of those objects and then scale it on the X and Y so that it covers up the entire space so that when you fall down there it kills you. Um, and that's really it. Like I'm starting to get, it's coming down to the wire here. Once I start actually getting back into developing on the first revulsion, right? And that's when I'm going to be doing all the stuff where I'm going to be, making the gameplay changes and getting to that, as well as making sure that the level editor is up and functional and running, and which maps can, get loaded and everything like that. Like it's going to be kind of interesting actually. I think. Um, the levels will be sort of grouped in with the other, the old maps, but the new maps sort of follow a new format where you find fast travel nodes, and then you eventually find the keys, the red key, blue key, yellow key, and you use those to open up the doors, the red key, blue key, yellow key doors, which is just like straight, like, um, out of the old, the handbook of Doom style first person shooters. And then you find an exit, and then the exit takes you to another map that has more fast travel nodes. So at any point in time, you can go back to a fast travel node and place it, or not place it, but you can make use of it so that you can go back to the hub and stuff like that. And that's going to be basically the flow of the first revulsion using the new maps. So there'll just be a continuous flow of new maps, and eventually, like at any point in time, I can add a new I can add a new level, um, and then the exit would just open up. So like you would eventually just run, you would just eventually kind of bump into an exit that, um, isn't open yet, and that would be when you're done with the current content. I guess that would have to be kind of, I'd have to be careful how I do that because like at least it should take you to the fast travel node or something along those lines and give you some kind of a big reward for completing all the maps. But at any point in time, I can add new maps to the, just sort of append them to the end of that level. And other people can append to those maps as well because at any point in time, all they have to do is just make a copy of the level and, do whatever they can, someone else can add another side entrance into one of their maps instead of just playing my maps. So there could be multiple exits, there could be multiple things. It'll end up being kind of like a big spider web. Um, which means that there's going to have to be a lot of care towards just the level design itself. Like a lot of it is you're completely at the mercy of the level designer in terms of being able to get a good flow, something that feels right, something that's um, going to be a I don't know, something that'll be a quality experience. Which is a good thing because that just gives me more to talk about while I'm actually building these things and getting everything in place, and it'll be really cool. So yeah, with that said, I'm not really sure what I'm gonna do with the new game description, but I've since I've been looking at other games, um, I've been looking at a lot of other games and stuff like that, I'm probably, yeah, it'll probably be pretty straightforward for me to kind of rework how I'm gonna do the description of Revulsion so that it isn't so cheesy or whatever. Um, at the same time, like the level editor, I think I'm going to be releasing the level editor as a separate executable, a separate project file, um, but it will be linked to in as the SDK. It'll be treated as an SDK uh, for now. It's eventually going to become the basis of the sequel for the first Revulsion, but as of right now, it's just a level editor. But the level editor itself is going to morph into the second game, which will be a really interesting experience. I'll be live streaming, the development of all of that and everything like that. Um, and let's see. Um, Depending on how things go this month, after now that I've got this, the price of the game down, I'm about to release the level editor and everything like that. Depending on how things go, I may end up start looking for contract work or something like that. I'm not really sure exactly what I'm going to be going for either. Is it just contract work or a regular job? It really depends. Everything is kind of dependent on this. Um, One thing though that is kind of annoying though is like if I do try and get a regular industry job again, um, that means that I won't be able to do they won't be happy with me working on my own game on the side. I don't think that's usually something that they often have to worry about, but yeah, it's actually kind of something that it complicates things quite a bit to try and do that. So um, I'm not really sure how to like balance that. Although I do know that if the game is already out, then that probably negates the whole entire thing. Like if the game explodes and I make like like suddenly it sells like 50,000 copies, over a couple of weeks because something happened, that was completely out of my hands, and but it was always on sale, and I had already like I don't know got a job at some company. Um, that probably won't have the same implications as oh I was working on the game the entire time and I made a bajillion dollars. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of one of those things too, where it's like if I lift weights, I might end up accidentally looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like it's kind of just as silly to think about that, but I mean, just in case, like it's still something you have to consider. Um, but yeah, like I don't know. My goal really right now is to get this down, and honestly, like I think I should have been doing things differently for a while now. Like I haven't really see now that I'm kind of seeing the light a little bit in terms of the indie space, a little bit more. I should have been doing this on the side the whole time. I don't think I should have just dependent on an industry job. I think that I think that if you work in the game industry, you should be working on stuff on the side that actually makes money. Like in the past I would make mods and do stuff for free, but I don't think that was ever a good idea. Like, making like a mod where I completely reworked all of the spawn points for Fallout New Vegas or something like that. Yeah, increased wasteland spawns or something like that was a big job, right? And I could have easily have just diverted that attention to making a game of my own at that point in time. I could have, you know, just programmed something in Unreal 3. You know what I mean? Like I could have gone through the trouble to just figure out how to do something for myself. But I ended up spending time making a mod for Fallout New Vegas that, I mean, while a lot of people enjoyed it, it got a lot of attention. I don't think anyone really even knows that it was me that made it. Like, you know what I mean? It's like it just sort of falls off to the wayside. There's a lot of stuff that just sort of falls off to the wayside. One of the things that's neat about Revulsion, though, is that it isn't just falling off to the wayside. Like I even had a guy. Yeah, yeah. He was complaining that the level wasn't loading correctly or something like that. I think he wasn't. I think he was trying to get me to give him a free copy of the game. But because when I read over this again, it's like, yeah, I even uninstalled and reinstalled and verified again. The game download shows about 687 megabytes, which is like that's the size of the old demo. And then it's kind of suspicious that he mentions the old demo. So he's like, "Do you know how I can get those files?" Dude, they're on fucking Steam. They're on Steam. I think this guy was trying to con me. Anyway, but like, okay, um, oh shit, what was I talking about? Hold on a second. I just derailed myself. I don't know. Okay, so I think that I really should have been just like I should have had another, the RPG that I was working on. I should have finished that by now. Like, and I should have been rolling on to the next project. I released Revulsion and kind of sat on it and just, improved it for like a year. And in reality, what I should have been doing was just, right on to my next project and just start pumping out another game. Like I was too idealized. I was trying to do something that was, something that was is just not going to happen. I just didn't have the tools to do it. So what was the point? Like, so I ended up getting distracted too much with the crypto stuff, right? Which I mean, hey, I'd be sitting pretty right now if I had, if I was working in Unity and if that was my thing because that's already supported right now on the EOS blockchain and stuff like that. But I'm in the Unreal 4 side of things, and I guess I could have bothered to, you know, pick up Unity and work with that thing, but I didn't want to make a game in Unity. I just don't want to do it. Like I prefer Unreal 4, but yeah, so I ended up just spending a large chunk of time not getting anything done really, other than just patching Revulsion, thinking that somehow, like, eventually that was going to matter. It never really would. The reason why the current patch, the things that I'm doing now matter, is because I'm hitting things from a completely different angle. Not only is the game going to be multiplayer, but I'm thinking all my projects in the future are just going to be multiplayer. Period. Like, I'm not even going to bother. Like, trying to do anything that isn't multiplayer, like, you know, is just a waste at this point in time. It compared to the potential of, having a game where you can get, like, a bunch of your friends together and play the game, like that right there is the bread and butter of the indie space, I think. That's why the open world survival games do so well, because you can get a bunch of friends to play like a cheap game and enjoy it, like 7 Days to Die or something like that, and then you just can play the shit out of it for as long as you want. And there's a little bit of creativity involved, so people can bring their own creativity. You know what I mean? It's like that's where it's at. That's the angle that this should have been going. If I knew everything that I know now, I guess it probably wouldn't have really changed very much because making a multiplayer experience is still too complicated, and I didn't know what I was doing enough at the time. So I have improved dramatically, uh, in that time. But I think that I should have really seriously been just I should have just rolled right off into that RPG project and just made that RPG project, even if it was single player. But I know how to make it multiplayer now. But like even if it was a single player game before, I should have just I should have two indie games under my belt by now. And I'm only working on the one. And right now, um, you know, building the second game is doubling as assistance for the first game because the level editor that I'm building for the second game can be used for the first game, which is kind of weird. But I think things will start to make more sense once I roll over completely into the second game, which is going to take some time. With that said, I'm definitely not approaching things the same way anymore. So I don't know exactly how. Well, it's going to be interesting because there's just going to be a completely different angle on all of this and everything like that. And I think I understand now a lot of stuff that I didn't before. Now I understand that, like, with marketing and everything like that, obviously I can be marketing things better and everything. Yeah, probably. I mean, absolutely. But at the same time, Well, I guess that's that. I mean, I just need to be able to market things better as well. All right. With that said, I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna end the video now. Take it easy, and hope you're enjoying these vlogs. That's my 2 cents for today.